Alright, so to make my question a little less useless, I'll tell you how I got my bearings out. I could not get them out the traditional manner, which was to essentially stick a screwdriver in here, and I guess the idea is to knock the internal spacer over to one side and then catch the edge here and kind of drive out the far bearing. But I couldn't get that to work. Instead, I couldn't get it to catch on the edges here because it wouldn't move enough, and I was ending up just butchering the edges of these things. I ended up having to, once I got it out, to Dremel and file this around to smooth it back out again, because I was really just beating the shit out of this spacer and I couldn't get it out. So I found somebody else who did this, basically got a big ass bolt, and then they cut down the center of it, and you file the edges here, so the head of the bolt is just the same size as the internal size of the bearing. So here's the old bearings. Basically, you use like a bench grinder, or you could do this by hand, but this is way faster. Just shave a little bit off and then put it inside here, and it should like just barely fit inside there. Okay, so now you got your old your stupid nut is in there. You get a big screwdriver. This is just a big screwdriver with no handle on it. It goes inside the notch there, like so, from the other side of the wheel. And if you give that a good bang on one side, either hold the right side yourself and bang it in like that. It can be a little annoying, or you could have someone hold it. It makes it way easier. Just give it a good love tap from over on the other side, and that'll sort of drive the screwdriver into this bolt, spreading out the head, and it will sort of lock into there. Then you can just pound the crap out of it, and it should drive the bearing right out without too much trouble. I was able to get them out pretty easily like that, and I could not for the life of me get them out the other way. They just would not move at all. As you can see, the old ones looking kind of crappy. Have no idea how old they are. And to get the big one back in, you can see it on the other side. There's the adapter, which comes in from the back side here and then drives into the center of the bearing. See, it's going to go in the middle here. It actually reduces the size, because if you have the old axle, if you tested it out ahead of time, you'd notice that without that internal thing here, you've got some play. Look at that. That shouldn't fit over the axle like that, so you know you're missing a part. Mine was stuck in the old bearing here, and I didn't even notice it on there, but there's a reducer there. Okay, so you need that reducer. It comes in from the back side here. You can press it in with a vise or something like that. I think some other people were saying they put it in here and then just slowly press it in. I drifted mine in because I installed it here, but to get it in, it didn't take too much effort. You don't want to hit it very hard, obviously, because you'd be hitting the internal races, which is very bad. You don't want lateral forces coming in here or on the bearings or on the inner races. But mine went in pretty easily, so I wasn't too worried about it. So that spacer is in there right now. Otherwise, this bearing is sealed on both sides, the new one, so it's a little bit better. But my question here is, okay, so you have your internal spacer, you've got the adapter which goes in the big one, and that's already in there, you can see that in there, and you have a flange. Okay, so the flange goes on the central spacer, like so. It's a very tight fit. But let's see if I can get it on here. Okay. So it goes on something like that, but it's going to sit like flush with this thing. So you just pound it on a little bit until it's kind of flush with that. And then, I'm guessing, anyway, because I knocked this whole assembly out before I did that. Alright, you get the spacer to sit flush in the flange, and then it goes in like this. And if you'll notice, this little flange is just wider than the internal hole on the wheel. So I'm guessing that's normal. It actually looks like it's normal because, I don't know, you can't see it. There's slight wear marks in here, just about halfway inside. So it's not taking up the full radius, it's taking up about the radius. See, like, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little wear mark halfway through, which looks like that's about exactly where this would sit. So, you get this thing on here. Use your persuasion hammer here. Get in there! Okay, that's still not in there. Now it's sideways. Hold on a second. You little bastard. Okay, so you got, you got it here. It's like pretty much flush now. Okay, so now you're in here, right? And I just want to know, is that normal? That's normal, right? That's how that's supposed to go? It looks like it is, because it matches up with the wear marks that are on the metal. There's a slight wear mark, which looks to very closely match the radius of this on here. And then you take your small bearing, and you're gonna drive that in. Now, you could do that, right? That's what it should do, right? Looks like it. I was just curious because it looks like this flange here might come in contact with the rear lip, but it also looks like it might be just smaller than it. See? Like so. If you lined it up correctly, it just comes in like that, right? I'm pretty sure that's what it's supposed to do. And I guess that because the spacer is so much smaller than the internal lip, that keeps it from moving way out of place, right? Because if this thing really knocked around when you took the wheel off and it's like sideways in there like that, you wouldn't be able to get the axle in. It'd be a huge bitch. You'd have to go and like fish it out, get something small to like hold it in place because it would keep wanting to fall. I'm guessing this flange keeps it from wanting to fall all over the place. And then you just put your new, this is the old one, but you put your new one back in here. You know, like everybody says, put it in the freezer or whatever. You could try warming up the wheel ahead of time, bring it up to room temperature or something like that, and then put your frozen bearing in there and then put it in straight. You know, for this sort of thing, you can use a socket that basically fits that. This one kind of fits perfectly, doesn't it? Yeah. So by the way, if you want a socket that fits perfectly, although I doubt you have one of these, this is a 36mm beast that fits the rear axle of a GSXR 750. Big boy. Yeah. But yeah, if you're looking for that, you could bring in your old bearings to the hardware store if you can't find a good drift, because you want to only hit the outer races, like I mentioned. And then obviously for this, you just need a big ass flathead screwdriver. I just knocked the handle off of it. Now it makes a really awesome drift, because you're just going to break the handle anyway, because you're going to be hitting it with like a sledgehammer. These are the new bearings. Okay. And then there's an oil seal that you get off the big bearing size. I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be one on the small bearing size, but I didn't really see one. There's a cover, I think. I don't know if that's the oil seal, the metal cover, but I believe it is. And then on this side, I believe, yeah, there's a cover here, and then there's a couple other covers, as you can see. I got the drum brakes in the rear. This spacer covers up the entire right side, so I don't know that you even really need an oil seal there. Anyway, yeah, I also took this stupid circlip thing off here, and I'm not sure, I don't think you need to take that off, although I think it's just an extra retaining ring for to keep the sprocket on, right? Yeah, it helps keep the sprocket on. Yeah, that's about it. I just want to make sure that that flange setup is supposed to be like this, right? And then, of course, the other central adapter is already in the other bearing, and that bearing is already in. All right.